Hello, guys. Welcome back to Listen to Myself. This is Pearly. Yes, Happy New Year. It's the 2nd of January 2025. I can't believe that 2024 just flew by. Well, actually, I feel like I did quite many things in 2024. However, at the same time, I also felt like it just flew by so fast. And I'm gonna be 29 years old this year, which is really kind of daunting. But anyway, that's not the point. That's not the topic of this episode. Today, I want to talk about how does living abroad in my 20s changed me. Oh, by the way, I'm at Paris right now. Like, yes, I already arrived here in case you didn't know about that. And yeah, I'm sitting at my cousin's place recording this episode right now. And it's really cold outside right now, by the way. I think it's like 2 degrees Celsius and it's raining a little bit right now. So it's just really depressing to be honest. But anyway, let's start our episode today. So, just a little bit background information in case you didn't know about my background. I first moved abroad when I was 18 years old. I moved to Japan in Tokyo for my bachelor degree. So, I lived in Tokyo for 4 years. And then later, I moved to Europe. I came to Europe in 2020. Wait, when was that? In 2022? Wait, no, before that, in 2019. Yeah, in 2019, I moved to Europe for my master program when I was at that time 24 years old. And I lived in the Netherlands and Germany at that time. So that's a little bit of the background information in case you didn't know about it. The reason why I specifically want to talk about this episode, want to talk about how living abroad changed me in my 20s, like especially with the emphasis I want to put is like in 20s. So I think in our 20s like it's like a really special, I would say, period of your life because you're like already like an adult, so you're not like a teenager like in your 10s, like in your 15 years old, in your 16 years old, not in an age like that where you are still kind of immature, I would say, and kind of like a lot of things it's still difficult for us to process, for us to learn, for us to understand. However, in our 20s, our brain is much more mature. However, at the same time, it's also not like mature yet. Like I feel like our brain in our 20s is like a sponge where you are actively absorbing a lot of new things, absorbing a lot of new information, learning a lot of new things, a lot of new knowledge, taking in a lot of different perspectives. And I also think like when we are in our 20s, we are not we haven't really fixed our identity. We haven't really fixed our mindset, our attitude of life. So we are really open to a lot of things still. So I think that's why I think in our 20s is a really special period of our life where we are like mature. I'm not so sure if it's like mature enough or not, but we are like mature in certain level. However, at the same time, we are also actively still like developing our identity, developing our habits, developing our ways of thinking, developing our mindset, our attitude, things like that. So I would say like in our 20s, there's a lot of possibility in us. Like we can change a lot of things in us, if that makes sense. And actually, like now I'm 28 years old, right? And I'm going to enter 29 years old this year in May. And I think right now, like I'm in my like late 20s, approaching 30s. And when looking back, it's just really interesting how I really didn't realize how my experiences living abroad has changed me in a lot of way and unconsciously. Because right now I feel like I wouldn't be somewhat like I wouldn't be this version of me, like having this kind of mindset, this kind of attitude toward life, if I didn't go, if it's not because I lived abroad for a few years in my life before. And that's basically what I want to focus today in this episode about perspectives, mindset, and attitude in life. That's the main thing I want to focus on when it comes to what living abroad has changed me. Because I'm like especially really interested about this whole like mindset, attitude of life thing, because I realize later that really the probably I think for me the most important skill in life is really just our like developing like a mindset that would serve us well, that would serve me well, and like a mindset and an attitude of life that would serve me well. That's the most important skill to develop for me in my life. And of course, if I can better it and developing it as early as possible, that would of course serve me better than only start to developing it later in my life. Because I think after we left schools, like schools I would say still like mm, I'm not so sure if we can call it like a comfort zone, but basically it's still like a very protected environment where most of us, do not yet need to think so many things about like our responsibility, our life, and also what we are gonna do. And it's still like a very relatively simple environment, I would say. However, after you left schools, it's really just all depends on you, up to you to face all the challenges that are going to face or you're already facing in life. And how is it possible to not have challenges in life, right? So I think when it comes to obstacle challenges, and also we will experience a lot of moment where we just doubt ourselves, like we don't know what we want to do, we don't know what to do with the current situation we have. Like maybe we want to change something but we don't know how, or maybe we want to do something but we keep um postponed it, or we keep just talking ourselves out from the thing that we always wanted to do, because we are too afraid of any uncertainty in our life. And I think this kind of problems are going to just keep happening in our life. Like in different stages of our life, we will encounter different kinds of obstacles, different kinds of challenges. And because all our trajectory are different, everyone's are different. So there's no this like, like there's I don't even think that this kind of attitude toward life and mindset thing can really be taught in school. I really don't think so, because it's just everybody's different, right? So it's how can you really just like teach people how to do things, right? So I think it's really up to our personal experiences, and we just have to experience all these things ourselves in and learn from it, learn lessons out of it. So that's why I think having like a good mindset, and even by talking about good mindset, what is a good mindset? It's also very, I would say, subjective. I think as long as it serves you well, it's a good mindset and also a good attitude of life as well. Like if you have these skills with you, and it's you can bring it everywhere you go, then I think your life, and at least that's what I felt like, my life would be easier and would be happier, and then I would be better equipped when facing challenges and obstacles and self-doubts and problems in my life. That's why I think mindset and attitude toward life in general is so important, and it's always like a work in progress for me to learn it, to better it, to to just learn more wisdoms in general, and to explore and to be open-minded. So I want to first talk about how living abroad in my 20s changed me. The first thing I want to talk about is how it trained my ability to adapt to different environment and situations. Because as you can already imagine, when you live abroad, you just need to quickly allow yourself to adapt to different kinds of situations. And sometimes you might need to move a little bit and you encounter so many new things and so many new people and the environment and everything, from small things in life, the supermarket is different, the products is different, to maybe like the colleagues you work with are totally like different kinds of people you encounter back in your home country, or the students, like your peers are totally different. They think a different way, they do things a different way. Like every parts in your life are going to be quite different from your home country when you moved abroad, when you live abroad. So I think, at least for me, it really trained me to adapt to different kinds of situation quickly, how to adjust my own lifestyle, adjust my own mindset, adjust my own way to interact with people when I'm in different kinds of environments. And sometimes it is really difficult. It is not something that is easy, but I think the more you train yourself and just throw yourself in new environment that is completely different from your home country, or maybe not completely different, even if it's just like 20%, 30% different from your home country, it's already a very big change. And it will already be enough to train yourself, to train your brain and everything to adapt to a new situation. I remember back in the time when I was in college, I was in Japan. I would say Japan and Taiwan is actually like culturally, it's not like it's different. However, there are also a lot of aspects that are similar. I still remember at that time I need to adapt myself to like this new environment in Tokyo. I mean, it's really convenient. However, like like people do things differently there. People date differently. People talk to each other, interact with each other still quite differently. And like Japanese is not my like a language that I was like fluent at that time at all. Like I really didn't know much about Japanese at that time. So of course, language is also a thing that what makes you feel like, wow, it's just really different from your home country, because like sometimes you just couldn't really convey yourself so perfectly, and when you want to say something, you have to first translate into in your brain, and it's just it makes things complicated. Then how are you gonna make friends, and how are you gonna interact with people in this kind of situation? How are you gonna live your life in this kind of situation when your cultural background and your language is different from this country? So I hope you get what I'm talking about in terms of when you live abroad and when you throw yourself into like a totally new environment, then you will just start to pick up the skill of like adapting to different kind of situation better and better. And that's really the first thing that comes into my mind when thought about and when I prepare this episode. And also another point that I want to mention is how your resilience is going to level up when you lived up when you has the experience of living abroad, because like a lot of things, like how do you say, you cannot expect the same process um back in your country when you're like living abroad. Like you just for example, if you have to do something related to your visa, like you have to go to the government kind of office or center to deal with things, then sometimes it's just like the way people do things there is just completely different from the way how people do things back in your country. So you really just need to learn how to just be okay with all this, to be patient and to be acceptable, and to just be like open minded and don't just like being so judgmental. And I'm like, when I was living abroad, I constantly just like keep reminding myself that people have different way of doing things. There's no such a thing as like this is good, this is bad. So sometimes you just have to let yourself to be in this like kind of zen mode, Otherwise, you will just get so frustrated easily because of how like this is just not supposed to be like this, and that is just not supposed to be done like this, and you will just get frustrated every day, and it is impossible to live peacefully and calmly in like this kind of mode. The second thing that I want to talk about is the perspectives. And this is also like the main thing, like the most important one that I want to address. Living abroad has changed me profoundly when it comes to perspectives. And when I talk about perspectives, I think one main subcategory is about different ways of living. I think back in Taiwan, I thought, like culturally and just based on all the social expectation, I thought being able to survive in this world, there's only one way to do it, which is to just go to college and obtain your degree, and better to do like a master, and then after you graduated you just work at a company for the rest of your life, and maybe you meet someone, you get married, or maybe you even give birth to children, and you after you, when you reach your like 50 years old, 60 years old, you retired, and then yeah, that's basically it. I thought the only way to live, or the only socially acceptable way to live, is something like this kind of path, this kind of trajectory. And I've never really like know and learn that there are a lot of ways to live your life. And I think I only learned that after I lived abroad, after I moved abroad. And because when you moved abroad, you will meet a lot of new people, and then your circles of friends like are going to be different, so you really get the opportunity to talk to many different people. And then I think it's just so eye-opening for me personally, that being able to listen to different kinds of stories, different kinds of life stories, and those stories really inspired me and taught me that even if I'm gonna be okay even if I don't follow the exact same route that back in my home country, where everybody just does that. Like there are a lot of different kinds of possibilities and opportunities, and I do not like need to follow just one kind of path in order to succeed, in order to survive in general. So it just gives me a lot of like inspiration, and also a lot of new perspectives. And also like another thing that I want to talk about is how I realized that when you lived abroad, you were given a lot of opportunity to reflect on your life. Maybe it's because like it's not your home country, it's not in your comfort zone. So a lot of time you will doubt yourself. You will doubt whether you want to stay in this place forever, or you actually still want to go somewhere, move somewhere, or like whether this job is really somewhere that you want to be working at right now, or you want to change your path, and whether this city is the right city for you, whether this decision is something that you truly want, or is it just because you were expected to do it socially, out of social expectation. I think when you're like living abroad, you will be given a lot of opportunity to reflect and reflect and reflect. And I think this kind of reflective, like introspective and ability to reflect is just such an important skill to develop. I think I mentioned several times before in my podcast. I forgot in which episodes, but I think I mentioned it several times about how I think this ability to reflect is just so important, and it's better to develop it and train your ability to reflect as early as possible, so that it will help you for sure later in your life when you are in the mode, when you are in need of reflection, like just like in general like this, to think a lot about things, to think of different things, and to make decisions that will serve you the best. So I think that's how also like by living abroad it changed me in this way, that i I think before I moved abroad, I wasn't like really like a person that is particularly good in reflecting about life. However, like after I moved abroad, like it definitely helped me to improve a lot in this sense. and it serves me really well because like I think it's so important to just find out what we truly want in our life, what mode of life we want. What we don't want is also really important. Like sometimes if you couldn't really find what you want in life, it's also be like pretty practical and useful to just find out what you don't want in life and try to kind of follow that logic and try to find out what you want in life. So this kind of ways is also going to work. And another thing that has taught me, has changed me when I lived abroad is how important it is to be patient, acceptable, and also confident. Because like sometimes like I think back in our country everything's like it's like very familiar to us, right? Everything we are going to do in our daily life or like even challenges we encounter, we sort of have an idea how to solve it because it's in our home country. We have been living there for a long time. However, like when you're abroad, sometimes things are just done differently, so you just have to be patient. And I would say I'm not really like a person that is I'm not like a patient person in general. Like sometimes I can be really anxious and I want things to be done fast, especially when like the things is out of my control. I still want it to be done fast. But I realized that by thinking this way, by having an attitude of life in this way, it makes me really tired because a lot of things are out of my control. So if that things is going to be done slowly, then it is going to be done slowly. I could not change it. So being patient is really like one skill that I learned, and also be acceptable as well, just like what I said. Here like in when you are abroad, like culturally, like you are going to meet a lot of people who has like different background. So sometimes I think it's easy to be to just like how do you say, to be judgmental. Like I think we all know that it is not good to be judgmental, but sometimes I think we cannot help but feel that way and start to kind of judge others or to even gossip about others and start to say that like this way of living, this way of doing things is it's not normal, it's weird. My way of doing things, my ways of thinking is better, is superior. I really don't think this is like a thing that we should do. And sometimes I feel like I felt guilty, like for doing it from time to time, just being judgmental of others' conduct or the social rules. However, like I keep reminding myself that just being acceptable and then, like your ways of doing things, eh, like maybe it's really just not really like there's no right and wrong. And there's no guarantee that your ways of doing things is a better one, you know? So like a lot of things I feel like because like I'm from Taiwan, I'm from Asia, so like we are like culturally we have so many exams since we were like kid and then we were like student, and sometimes we just feel like there's a right answer for everything in the world, but it's really just not the case. A lot of times life, a lot of things are sort of in the gray zone. There's no right and wrong, it's not like black and white. So I think it's really important to just like keep reminding myself in my case that there's no like a right answer for everything in this world, in the society. So sometimes you just need to be acceptable and be just like stop being judgmental, basically. And another thing that I want to talk about is being alone, the ability to just enjoy your own company. And I think, of course, you can always try to find someone, talk to your friends, talk to your partners, and talk to your parents, talk to your siblings when you feel lonely, when you have no one to talk to. And I think, human beings, we are social animals and we need that aspect. However, I think a lot of times we might not really have someone like that to talk to. Maybe like inevitably there are some moments in our life where we just need to know how to live with ourselves, how to like enjoy our own company. And I think like living abroad has definitely taught me this lesson, helped me to become better at like just enjoying my own company. So even if I don't really have someone to travel with, do something with, then I can still do it myself and I can still sort of figure this out myself. And the last thing that I want to talk about is how it's interesting how, like, you will realize that, or maybe you already realize that you cannot escape from from yourself. Like, never. Like, when that, like, no matter which country you actually move to, or which country you travel to, or in which environment you put yourself into, you cannot, you can never escape yourself. So that's why, like, it kind of like brings back like what I talked about in the beginning, how the mindset and the attitude to our life is so important, because it's always, you are always gonna have you in you. Oh my god, it sounds so weird. It sounds so kind of like, I don't know. But I think you get what I mean. I hope that you are always gonna be with yourself. You can never get rid of yourself. So even if you are in a country, in a new country that you really wanted to go, really wanted to live in, but if you did not solve the problems you have in your inner self, like the problems you have within you, then it is still really difficult to be happy, even in a city that you really like. Because even if we move to a place that we really like, we still need to live our day-to-day life. We cannot like avoid this part, and we cannot avoid the challenges that are gonna come to us. So wait, why did I talk about this? Like, in the end of this episode, like, I feel like it has really like not that much of things to do to like my topic, which is like, how does living abroad in my 20s change me? But yeah, that's also one of my realizations that uh I think way before, I used to think that if I move to a country, that if I move to a city that I really love, that I really want to be living at, I would be like happy ever after. However, like, after experiencing all this like experiences living abroad, I realized that if I couldn't solve the inner problem that I have within myself, that I then no matter where I live in this world, I wouldn't be genuinely happy. It wouldn't really solve my problems. And yeah, the problems will come again, again, and again to me, and I will still need to face them, still need to solve them. So that's why, again, I think this whole mindset and attitude toward life is so important to develop a like an attitude that is going to serve you well. This is really just really important. And lastly, I just want to say that, just like what I said, I grew up in a culture where exams are just so common, where we are so used to taking exams. So sometimes I feel like I was kind of trained and influenced unconsciously that even like in life, there's a right answer to meet as well. Like, for example, if I just like, just an example, if I didn't enter into like a huge corporation, like a very well-known company with like well-paid salary, then I'm not I'm not meeting the right answer. Like it's easy to compare yourself to others, and or to compare your what you are right now, your status quo, your achievements, to the societal standard, to the societal expectation. You feel like your life has to meet the answers that the society expect from you. However, I just want to say that there's really just no right answer in life. Like, you can create your own version of life. You don't need to kind of look at your own answer and to check your answer with the answers that the society provided or the peers around you provided. And I think this realization is really important. And yeah, that's the last thing that I want to talk about in this episode, because of how I think it is so important to have this kind of mindset. And yeah, that's about it for today's video. Actually, like, I'm moving to Briançon, like another village in another city in France soon. So I need to pack up again. Oh my god, it's a lot of moving. So just like what I said, you were just like basically forced to be able to adapt to different kinds of situation because you're like changing your environment so rapidly, so fast, and so constantly. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening. And I want to wish you all like a happy new year, happy 2025. And I'll talk to you and see you again in the next episode. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.